Greetings, Earthians. It is time once again to turn your mental energies toward the infinity of the speed of thought. Travel beyond the edge of the known into the realm of weird science fantasy. The afternoon rocket express train from Chicago came into the station and I stepped off. It was a warm spring day. The little town of Elkhart, Indiana sprawled lazily under the golden sunshine. I trudged along quiet, tree-shaded streets toward Carlson Preparatory School for Boys. Before I had gone far, I was discovered by the children playing here and there. With their dogs, they formed a shrill, raucous procession behind me. Some of the dogs growled as they might at a wild animal. Housewives looked from their windows and gasped. So the rumors they heard were true. The new teacher at Carlson was a Martian.
Look it, a Martian. Oh, he's horrible. I hate him.
My shoulders drooped wearily from the tug of Earth's gravity, almost 3 times more than that to which I was conditioned. Only my leg braces of light, strong metal kept me from buckling under the strain. I was glad when I finally stepped within the gates of Carlson Prep. Those children tossing stones, their dogs snapping at my heels, the adults with their unwelcome stares. Not that I blame them. After all, I am an alien. Still, at least here in the school that hired me to teach, I'll be accepted in a more friendly... The hiss of 1,000 snakes filled the air. For a moment I was back on Mars, surrounded by a nest of killer snakes from the vast red deserts. I reacted violently, dropping my bag, raising my cane to beat them off. No! But wait, this is Earth, where snakes are a minor class of creature.
Did you see him jump?
A group of laughing boys trooped into view from behind a stone wall. I relaxed, panting. The horrible icy fear drained away. Perhaps you human beings can never quite know the dread we Martians have of snakes. Allow me to introduce myself, boys. I am Professor Moonzeros, your new teacher. The sun shine upon you.
It talks, fellers. Up from the canals.
One of the boys stepped forward. He was about 16 with blue eyes that were mocking.
Is it alive? I'm Tom Blaine, senior classman. Tell me, Professor, is it true that Mars is inhabited?
Boys! It was rather a cruel reception, though merely another prank. As I waved my tentacles in distress, hardly knowing what to say or do, a grown man with gray hair pushed his way through to me. Robert Graham, Dean of Carlson. You're Professor Moonzeros, of course. This is your new instructor, gentlemen. He will teach interplanetary history and Martian language. A groan went up. I knew why. The Martian language puts Latin to shame in its difficulty. Remember your manners, gentlemen. I'm sure you'll like our new professor.
I'm sure we won't. We never had a Martian teacher before, and we don't want one now.
It was Tom Blaine again. Behind him, an air of hostility had replaced the less worrisome mockery. Dean Graham was more aghast than I. Don't want one?
My father says Martians are cowards. He ought to know. He's in the Space Patrol. He says that during the war, the Martians captured Earthmen and cut them to pieces slowly. He says they're nothing but dirty, yellow...
Dean Graham snapped. Nonsense! Besides, the war is over. Martians are in the Space Patrol, too. Now go to your dormitory. Professor Zeros will begin conducting classes tomorrow. Oscar, take the professor's bag. Oscar, the school's menial robot, obediently stalked forward past the grumbling boys. Somehow I felt almost a warm tide of friendship for the robot. In his mechanical, rudimentary reflex mind, it was all the same to him, Martian or Earthman. He made no discrimination against me as the human boys did. Don't mind them, Professor. They always haze the new teachers.
Yes, I understand.
Come, Professor. I will show you to your room. Follow me. Alone, I almost regretted I had come. But times had been hard on Mars lately, with so many dust storms raging up and down the canal regions, withering the crops. This post on Earth, though at a meager salary, was better than utter poverty and starvation. I prayed. I humbly beseech thee, First Cause, give me the strength to carry on in this strange, hostile world. Freshened after a night's sleep, I entered the classroom with enthusiasm for my new job. 100 cold, unfriendly eyes watched me with terrifying intensity. Good morning, students.
Good morning, Professor Zero.
So, the hazing campaign was still on. No, I wouldn't correct them. After all, even the Martian children I had taught had invariably tagged me with that name. I glanced around the room, and my eyes, protected by my glare-reducing glasses, came to rest on the blackboard. The chalk drawing was obviously young Tom Blaine's handiwork. His father claimed all Martians to be cowards and weaklings. My leathery face showed little feelings as I erased the humiliating sketch. Ignoring the snickers, I begin my lecture. Civilization began on Mars 50 centuries before the first glimmerings of civilization on Earth.
See, fellas, I told you he'd rub it in. Please, sir, may I ask why you brilliant Martians had to wait for Earthmen to discover spaceflight?
It was Tom Blaine, interrupting loudly. I was shocked but managed to answer patiently. Our history has been a constant struggle against extinction. We ran out of metals keeping our canals in repair. In fact, when the Earth pioneers migrated to Mars, it was just in time to patch up our canals and stave off a famine.
And what was the appreciation Earth got? Rebellion.
You forget, Mr. Blaine, that the Earth pioneers on Mars started the rebellion against taxation and a bad Earth government, and fought side by side with us.
They were traitors!
I hurdled the point, continuing with my lecture. Mars won its independence after a 9-year struggle.
Not won. Earth granted independence, though it could have won easily.
I resumed quietly. At any rate, Earth and Mars today are amicable and have forgotten the episode.
We haven't forgotten. Every true Earthman despises Martians.
My tentacles hung limp. This boy was so typical of the race. He was intolerant, aggressive, determined to make things so miserable for me that I would quit. There would have to be a test of authority. May I remind you, Mr. Blaine, that I am the teacher and you are the pupil.
And you're Martian scum! Go back to your stinking canals! Let 'em have it, boys!
A barrage of erasers flew at me. They'd been sneaked previously from the boards around the classroom. I stood helplessly, desperately warding off the missiles with my tentacles. The boys were yelling and hooting, excited at the sport. Suddenly, the pandemonium stopped as Oscar, the robot, stumped into the room. He squawked like a phonograph.
Dean Graham would like to know if everything is going along smoothly. Uh-oh.
I could see the boys hold their breaths. If this were to be reported, the boys would lose an afternoon of freedom. For a moment I was tempted to take revenge. Everything is well, Oscar. With a click of internal relays, the robot left, impassively. Young Blaine jeered.
Afraid to report it, huh? I told you Martians are yellow.
It was more than gravity that made my shoulders sag. Even outside the classroom I was hounded.
Don't! No, please don't! What's the matter, Professor? This is nothing but water.
How could I make you understand? For 10,000 years on Mars, that precious liquid has been the object of our greatest ingenuity. It hurt to see it wantonly flung away, as you would flinch to see blood shed uselessly.
It's sacrilege.
As I stumbled away from the laughter, I heard Tom Blaine confiding to his giggling cohorts.
I got the idea last night looking in his room. He was playing with a bowl of water, running his fingers through it. And I got another idea. Follow me to the kitchen.
I wasn't aware till half through the solitary evening meal in my room that the food tasted odd. It was salty. The boys had stolen into the kitchen and salted my special salt-free foods. I went to bed groaning with a severe headache and upset stomach. Worse, it rained that night, and I lay awake listening to the millions of gallons of water going to waste, while on my homeworld, thirsty Martians were painfully hoarding it, drop by drop. In class the next morning, my spectacles were missing. My eyes were almost blinded from the glare that was 50% stronger than on more remote Mars. When Oscar appeared, I ordered, "Lower the blinds, Oscar. I can't seem to find my glasses."
But Professor, what about our eyes? We can't read in the dark. We'll help you look for them.
They ransacked the room with deliberate brutality. Tom Blaine held them up in mock triumph. I tried to smile.
Here they are, Professor. Right in your drawer.
How careless of me not to have seen them. I went on as though nothing had happened, but my whole head ached from the hours of straining my eyes against the cruel glare. You're my only friend, Oscar. At least, you're not my enemy. What is it? You have a message?
Special television program this afternoon. Dean Graham requests 100% attendance.
The special television show that afternoon contained, among other features, a recent newsreel.
The Space Patrol ship Greyhound is seen being dispatched after pirates. Captain Henry Blaine in command.
I heard young Tom exclaim proudly to his classmates as they watched the crew climb aboard.
That's my father!
And then I leaned forward to watch the last of the Martian members of the crew vanish within. My son. The newsreel ended and classes were dismissed. I dragged across the campus to the haven of my rooms. I needed rest. As I opened the door,
Yeah!
a shriek tore from my throat the instant I saw it. A horrible wriggling snake lay on my bed. A million years of instinct screamed danger, death.
Look at him cringe!
Tom Blaine snatched the snake and held it up.
It's only a garter snake, Professor. They're harmless.
Yes, yes. That night, a crimson star winked down at me soberly and seemed to nod in pity. Mars. There was my true home. Harsh though its canals and desert storms might be, they were not as harsh as the unfeeling inhabitants of this incredibly rich planet. They've won. They've beaten me. I'm coming home. I'm coming. I started to pack. Angry voices approached my door. The boys burst in, led by Tom Blaine.
Murderer! A man was strangled in town 2 hours ago by a rope or a tentacle. Look, he was packing. He's guilty, all right.
How fantastic it sounded. And yet, these were no mere boys now. They were a bloodlusting mob. All their hate and misunderstanding of me had come to a head. They dragged me outside, ripped away the metal braces that supported my legs, and forced me to walk up and down, back and forth.
Confess? Then we'll take you to the police.
Forgive them, First Cause, for they know not what they do. My one hopeless comfort was that prayer, uttered so long ago by an earthly prophet who begged for his own children. Without the braces, my weak muscles sagged under my weight. I became a single mass of aching flesh. Finally, I collapsed to the ground. Blaine stood over me, kicked me.
Get up, you coward! You Martian coward, get up! Blaine! They caught the killer! A maniac with a rope! What do you guys do? He's innocent!
The class gasped in chorus the next morning when their Martian professor entered quietly as though nothing had happened the night before and announced, "We will have an examination today. Clear your desks." They were astounded that I could defy their hate and scorn, that I could come back. They did not know of the spacegram I'd received. Earth, Mars, it made no difference now. My world was at an end. I looked out over their bowed heads as they conjugated the verb croon, and I suddenly felt hate for them. Savagely, I hoped they would fail their examinations.
Dean Graham wishes all classes to file out on the campus for a special event.
Oscar clanked off. The boys looked up gleefully. The exam was ruined. I shrugged and dismissed them. The campus was filled with the entire school faculty and enrollment. "Students, teachers, I would like to present Major Dawson of the Space Patrol, who has come down from Spaceport especially for this announcement. Major Dawson." Major Dawson, tall, uniformed, stepped forward. "Many of you boys hope to enter Spaceport someday and join the patrol. This bulletin, received an hour ago, does honor to someone here. Captain Henry Blaine, in command of patrol ship Greyhound, was wounded yesterday in a daring rout of space pirates." All eyes turned to Tom Blaine. The officer held up a radium-coated medal, the Cross of Space, for extraordinary service in the interest of law and order throughout the solar system. "This medal is presented by the government of Earth to..." The officer stepped forward, brushing past Blaine, stopping before me, and pinning the glowing medal to my chest. "The next of kin of the young Martian crew member of the spaceship Greyhound, who saved Captain Blaine's life by leaping in front of him and taking the full blast of the burst that only wounded the Earthman. His name was xoiziox, and his father is..." I found myself watching Tom Blaine. He'd taken the spacegram he'd stolen from my pocket and was reading it for the first time. He'd obviously seen it delivered, seen my agitation over it, and planned to use it against me. "We deeply regret to inform you of the death of your son." "Thank you, Major. I was aware of someone at my side, supporting me, as my knees began to buckle. At first I thought it must have been Oscar. But no, it was a human being.
Every one of us here is your son now, if that will help a little. You're staying too. You couldn't leave now if you tried."
We smiled at each other, Tom Blaine and I, and my thin hand was nearly crushed in his young, strong grip. Yes, the teacher from Mars would stay. Once again, we return you to your pre-scheduled mundanity.